Welcome to the Hard Way Hanoi.
Yo.
And today we have a very special guest and a fantastic interview. I'm very excited about this. Please say hello to Ekin Andrews, everybody.
How do everyone?
How's it going?
All right. So obviously maybe some people listening or watching don't know what we're going to be talking about or who you are. Can you just kind of, introduce yourself about how long you were in Hanoi and that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I was in Hanoi for about 8 years. I moved there when I was 19 years old. I did the usual thing, went backpacking and got to Hanoi and just stayed like a lot of people do. Yeah.
Like me as well, yeah.
Yeah. I did a few different things there. Ran some bars, some motorbike shops, did some teaching for a while. And then, unfortunately, I ended up in prison for 17 months. Through, completely all my fault. Like, it wasn't like an accident or anything like that. It was just a complete fuck up on my part. So,
well, at least you can admit that, right? We all make mistakes.
Oh yeah, too right. Yeah.
Especially when you're young.
Yeah, you're young.
Oh yeah, it's better to get the mistakes done when you're younger, and then you've learned by the time you're older.
It's true, definitely. Yeah. So people listening, Ekin spent 17 months in a Vietnamese prison, and for selling drugs, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And what were you caught with? What did they?
So I was caught with 5 grams of weed, 3 pills, 3 ecstasy pills, and some meth and a tab of acid. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
So not
a huge amount, but
yeah,
enough to show that I was dealing. Yeah.
Oh, well, definitely. And the penalties on paper here are pretty steep for a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, I was looking, but just from having that, I was looking at a 7 to 15-year sentence off the bat. So yeah, you can really strict.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into how this all happened. People, watching, listening. We lived together, and this all happened while we were living together. We lived together in a house with it's a 4-bedroom house, so we always had a bunch of roommates. It was a party house.
Yeah, too right. It was. Yeah.
It definitely was a party house. There was always people there drinking and having a good time. So we lived together. So kind of let's go into the story about what exactly happened.
So I accidentally started selling drugs. It wasn't like I was going out peddling it on the streets or anything. I wouldn't always carry it on me and push it towards people. I just knew a guy that I knew from my old bar that would be able to get it fairly cheap and at decent quality. So if I had any friends that wanted anything, I would hook them up. So I'd been doing this for a while, not on a huge scale, maybe once or twice a week, somebody would need something and I would sort them out. And then I think it was Christmas Eve, was it, Paul, or was it the day before Christmas Eve?
It was Christmas Eve. You got arrested.
It was Christmas Eve, yeah.
Some prison.
Yeah, it was Christmas Eve, and my mother was meant to be coming on Christmas Day. So I said to my friend, I said, if you need anything, I'm going to be going away for a few weeks. So just let me know and I'll sort you out. So he said, yeah, just maybe some of this and this and this. Okay. So I went to go and pick it up. And then when I was driving from the old quarter up to Westlake, I kind of had a strange feeling. I'd stopped my bike, and I'd never usually feel like this. I had my headphones in, but I had this feeling I was being followed or watched, or I was like, yeah, I thought I was just being paranoid. I stopped my bike, was looking around, there was no one there. No one obviously like stopped or was waiting. So I continued on, and I turned up into an alleyway. And there somebody was trying to turn their motorbike around. So I just stopped my bike, waiting to let them turn around and get out of the way. And before I know it, I was surrounded by, armed police, and they dragged me and got my arms around behind my back and were shouting things at me. And I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. Obviously, I'm fucked. The first thing that came to my mind was I'm fucked. Yeah. and they had a translator with them. They said, "Oh, this is just a routine check."
Wow.
And they had a
I've
translator
lived in
with him.
Vietnam for years, and this is not a routine check. Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
that's what,
yeah. So then they got you. And then we later know and found out that they've been following and watching our house and surveilling us. Also, you know what's funny is that now I remember a story you told me before this happened. Do you remember maybe a week or 2 weeks before this? You told me you were actually got chased by police and you got away.
Yeah.
And you got
I forgot about this.
Remember? So
yeah.
I'm thinking in my head that maybe even at that time they were trying to get you at that point as well. Because remember that story?
I remember being chased by the police, but I completely forgotten about that.
And when you told me that, I like when you said that to him, like that's the weirdest thing. The police never bother any foreigners, let alone chase them. So that I remember.
And the police did tell me that they tried to catch me before, but I was too quick. And that would be it.
So that's
I've forgotten about that.
Because I remember.
I thought they just tried to catch me and I'd been oblivious to it. But I remember this now.
I remember you came home that night, we're chilling in the living room, you're like, police just fucking chased me. I fucking got away though. I'm like, damn, why are they chasing? They never chase foreigners. I'm like, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, man. Yeah.
Putting the pieces together now.
Well, you can, when things keep going, especially when we're talking and I tell him a story that he totally forgot. Yeah. But the reasons why you were being surveillance, it's not because you were selling a little bit of stuff, right? It's because you were selling it for somebody who is being served.
Yeah. So they were following a guy called Mac, who they had cameras on his house. They suspected him of being a dealer. And obviously they saw me coming and going. So they thought, oh shit, we need to follow this guy. So that's when they started following me and checking out the house and so on. So
so there's something. Maybe I'm happy that we're redoing this because there's something let's talk about something. So when I'm thinking about the timeline of when our house started getting watched and all this started happening, we're going to talk about somebody. I'm not going to name his name. Somebody else lived in the house before who was also friends with that man and doing stuff for him as well. Went to go pick up a package in Da Nang with police waiting for him there, and then was deported with no jail time or no nothing.
And he got away with that
around
on a technicality, I think.
And the thing is, I'm not saying anything about him. Actually, I love him to death. He was a great dude. But after that is when, around that time is when they started watching him and started
I think
us. And
I think he was pretty naive, and there was like, oh, it'll be fine. There's no way that they'll follow through on this. But actually, that happening, they must have put the police onto him.
Must have put on.
And obviously, they're not just going to go in straight away and go, right, this is like, they're going to take their time and build up a case and watch, basically. So,
and that's exactly.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was from then that they started watching him, because they did say that they've been watching me and him for months and months and months.
Yeah, months and months. Yeah, no,
months.
They were watching our house for months. They probably see me come out of my underwear a few times. But anyways, that's kind of what kind of inspired you. Kind of got yourself in a situation, right? And also because too is also a reason I know is because you're also doing this to pay off some debts, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I remember you owed me quite a bit of money at the time for rent and
Yeah.
all that stuff. And he came and gave me money. Remember that?
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
So
It was a pretty shitty time of my life, and it
I
was
knew
trying
that
to,
you owed him
yeah,
money. So it was also a reason for you to kind of just pay your debt off.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it's true. It seemed like an easy way to get it sorted, you
of
know.
course, right? Like, and
Yeah, yeah.
us living
It
here,
always seems like an easy way to get it sorted, and then yeah, obviously it's
no. But you
definitely
know
not.
what though? Like here we have that illusion that the fact that we can drive around, the police really don't bother us. That you
Yeah.
think that it does, it never gonna happen to anybody, but it does.
Well, it's pretty unheard of, isn't it?
It is.
You know, of any foreigner really getting arrested over there. It does happen, but very rarely, you know. So you do get yourself into like this false sense of security where it's just like, oh, I can just do whatever and it'll be fine. And sure enough, it's not, you know. Okay, I did get away with doing a lot of daft things over there for a lot of years, but you know, eventually something was going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, just again, I think, wrong place, wrong time, and
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
but anyways, yeah. So let's get back into the timeline of the story. So you've just been arrested, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck.
For the routine police check, so to speak.
Police check, yeah.
What happened then? They arrested me, so they put me on a motorbike, sandwiched between two police officers on a motorbike, and took me to the nearest police station to search me, which is pretty strange.
So they didn't search you on site?
No, they didn't search me on site. No, no, they waited until we were in a police station because they had to have a witness that wasn't a member of the police. So it was like some
I guess embassy
some
stuff, right?
Vietnamese guy that I didn't have a clue who he was, and I didn't think he was affiliated with the police or anything. He had to watch them search me, so I couldn't turn around and say that was planted. I think that must have been the reason why.
And honestly, that must only be for foreigners, for
I'm
embassy.
guessing so. Yeah,
right?
I
don't
so.
see them doing that for every Vietnamese person they got to search or anything, right?
No, I doubt it. I doubt it.
So there was a witness that wasn't a police officer that had to watch you, making sure. That's actually kind of all right. Like,
Yeah, it was all right. Yeah,
that's a good policy.
They you know, they didn't try anything stupid. Like they didn't try beating me. They didn't try any of that sort of stuff. They were just like, you know, they were pretty fair with me. You know, I was all quite clearly shitting myself. I was like,
oh yeah.
What's gonna happen? Yeah. I tried to go into my pocket and be like, look, it's here. You caught me. And they were just like, no. They all started shouting at me because they thought I was, I don't know, obviously they thought I might pull something out or I was just like, right, okay, yeah. I was just like it's in there. Still took them ages to find it. It was in my jacket, inside breast of my jacket pocket. I was pointing to where it was and they thought it was stitched into my jacket. So they were coming out with knives and stuff, trying to pick away at the stitching. I was just like, mate, it's just like, it's an inside pocket, man.
Yeah,
Please don't ruin this jacket.
Yeah.
you're
It's pretty
worried.
daft, you know, literally pointing to where it is and they still can't find it, but yeah. Yeah, so they found it. And then what happened? I'm trying to remember now. So then they take me to the main police station after they found it. They seal all the drugs up into plastic bags and then a sign where there's like a seal so they can't open it up without the seal breaking. Take me to the main police station where I'm sat there for what feels like days, but it can't have been that long. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we can go into the story about when they take me to the house.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think it was there overnight and it was Christmas Day. It must have been Christmas Day.
Yeah, I think
they said, right, okay, come on, we need to go to your house. So I get into the truck and I'd had no sleep, just absolutely knackered. We drive over to the house in Long Bien. We get there and there's loads of police officers outside the gate. and the dogs inside the house just barking at them, and all these police officers are just scared of the dogs, like terrified of these two dogs that are barking at them. But obviously, the dogs, like, they were quite racist towards Vietnamese people.
Yeah, yeah.
The dogs just hated any
Simba
Vietnamese
does
people.
not like Vietnamese people, no.
Yeah. So I open the gate. I'm in handcuffs, and I'm opening up the gate, and I go in, and Greg sat there.
Yeah, yeah.
Greg sat down towards where the dog's barking.
Well, Greg was waiting for that. Greg was waiting for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, I can go into my story about how the fact that Greg was sitting there and everybody else was gone, and there was nothing in your room.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
So I'm just hanging out in my room, and I get a call from the landlord saying, "Listen, Paul, Ekin has been arrested for selling drugs. He's coming to the house with the police right now. If you know, just make sure it's nice and clean for the police. They're gonna search." I'm just gonna say it like that. Right?
Scrub the house.
You know,
off the floor.
So
Yeah,
I was like, oh fuck. And I'm like, okay. So I got out of my bed and I just opened my door and I walked out into the hallway and I just yelled, "Yo, Ekin has been arrested. The police are coming here in about 10 minutes. If you got anything in this house, get your shit and get the fuck out now." And honestly, we ran that 5-minute drill like we practiced that like a fire drill. Literally, honestly, for me, like I didn't have to worry about that. I didn't have anything to worry about. But
yeah.
Everybody was like fucking 5 minutes, boom, 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 and gone.
Yeah,
and Greg knew about it, so Greg was like, I want to see this. I want to see it. I was like, no, fuck this. I'm going to work.
You can get as far away from there as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he's,
yeah.
You know, he just stayed there, like.
Yeah, well, he just stayed wait to watch them come in, and he sent me a message when it was happening. And what happened? They brought you with like 8 police officers, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of police officers there just for a search, and yeah, so they went in and they just wanted to search my room, and they were asking me if there was anything in there, and I was like, well, maybe, but I'm not sure. That's what I told them. Maybe, but I'm not sure. That it could be. And I pointed to the box where there would be stuff if there was going to be anything. And they opened it, and there was literally nothing in there.
Yeah.
They were surprised. I was really fucking surprised. I was like, what? Just like, where did everything go? Oh, excellent. But yeah, they could see the surprise on my face, and they were like, what? They could tell something had happened. There was just like nothing there. And
and that's why.
Yeah, and some great friends right there. Just really sorted me out there, because that you know, just like anything, even, you know, just any paraphernalia, anything can also just be used, and that could bump up my sentence.
Bump up your sentence.
Really make it more difficult.
Could have been, exactly.
Yeah.
Could have added a couple more years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was really fortunate to have friends that are just like, right, okay, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, well, and I do want to go back to the fact that like the way that they were trying to get you, and it looks like they've been trying to get you for a little while before they got you. Remember a couple days before that, they came for a routine fucking visa check in her house. They kept trying to like come for like this visa check where it's like, and they came, there's like 4 or 5 police officers, like even some in like just normal clothes and shit. I'm like, I've been here for almost.
That's not routine. They keep on using routine, but I've never seen that shit.
I've never seen looking for that. And that's one of them. They were looking for you. Niggas were asking, him. And I went upstairs and you're like, tell them I'm not home. And they're just like, oh. And then it's
I'm not here, Paul. Curtains closed, door locked, like, yeah.
Anyways, so let's get back into it. They bring you to the house, search, nothing happens. Then what? I guess they take you back?
Yeah, they take me back. take me back to the main police station. And it must be later on that night. They're like getting me ready to go. And I'm not sure what's going on. I'm like, oh, sweet. Maybe they're going to just like release me because it was no drugs and, you know, they didn't find anything at the house. So I think it's okay. Maybe they're going to release me and, you know. So, yeah, getting all ready to go. I'm like getting a bit more like, oh, okay, great. This is over. It was far from fucking over. It was far from over. So I was like, you know, got my stuff and getting ready to go out, and they're just like, right, okay, we're taking you to a detention center now. I was just like, what? Yeah, that was when it really set in. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to prison for a while, but it will be okay, I'm thinking, because the embassy will get me out. Surely that, you know, this is just, you know.
Was anybody in contact with you at that time? Was anybody telling you anything about like what?
No, absolutely nothing. They were just trying to keep me completely in the dark. No. I had no contact with the embassy until I was in like a few months after, like into being in jail. Yeah.
Wow.
So I was just completely kept in the dark for ages. I think it was like 3 months into it when I finally heard something from the outside. It was like really strange. Yeah. That was difficult. 3 months of just not knowing. Although everyone in there said, look, you're in here for a minimum of this amount of time, you know, like 10 months until you move on to a bigger prison. And
well, because I remember what we were hearing out like while this was happening and stuff was that like you could get like 7 to like 14 years or something like that.
Yeah. That was my original thing that the police wanted me to get. They suggested I got 7 to 15 years sentence. So when I was in there, everyone was telling me, it's okay, you'll get 10 years. Most likely you'll get 10 years, but you'll be out in 7. So it's not too bad. And I was like, well, after a while, it's like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. 7 years time, you know, I won't be too old when I get out. And I kind of got to grips with that. Yeah. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. That's fine. Yeah, you can't, well, there's nothing, you can't not accept it, really. You've got no choice. So it's like, yeah, okay. Mentally preparing yourself for it. It's just like, right, that's fine. That's fuck all. Like, I can do 7 years. That's not long. And actually, it is a long time, but you kind of got to prepare yourself mentally for that sort of thing.
At this time, is that where you were staying next to death row?
Yeah, that was when I was next to death row. Yeah. So I spent a long time next to death row. Those guys were.
You're really gonna tell that one crazy story later.
Yeah.
But we won't go into that now. But
yeah, that's a story for
next to death row is crazy. All these people were chained to the wall and stuff, right?
Yeah, chained to the wall for years and years and years. I think it was a minimum of 5 years that they'd be chained to the wall. 2 people to one small cell, never allowed off for exercise. You know.
So you're never unchained? Like,
never unchained. And they can't use the toilet, they can't shower or anything. They just get a bucket for going to the toilet in and another bucket with water in every morning so they can wash.
That's crazy.
And there's one guy, he was there for 7 years, chained to the fucking wall. And bear in mind, none of these people were in for murder. They're all in for drugs.
Yeah. Well, let's see, that's crazy. So you're saying none of those people were in there for murder?
None of those people were in for murder. No, they were all on death row for drugs.
I guess.
Okay, large quantities of different drugs, but
maybe. Well, what kind of drugs do you think? Like meth and that kind of stuff?
Meth, heroin, yeah, all the different drugs. Maybe not weed. I think it's difficult to get the death sentence for weed, but yeah. But all of them seem like genuinely nice people, and that could also be something to do with, you know, the more time you sat there for years and years in a cell, you're going to become a little bit chilled, or, you know.
Did you have a chance to actually talk to them and chat with them?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I could see into 3 of the cells from my cell. So I would chat with them every day. They would sing songs. I would teach them English. They would teach me some Vietnamese. we would share food with each other. So whenever they had some like nice food or cigarettes or tobacco, they would share with me, and I would, you know, share whenever I had something back with them.
Sure, yeah.
So I got on really well with them, and they were all really, really nice and really, you know, supportive and just like, it's okay, you know. In reality, like if I was out in 7 years, it doesn't really matter. They've been chained to the wall there for 5 years, and they're going to be killed. So I was just like, actually, yeah.
Well,
no matter what happens
you
here,
gotta, yeah.
You know, at least I'm not in their situation.
Well, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, you're kind of stuck in this one place that you don't get to do much but stay in the cell. You're not given any like what pencils or paper.
No pen and paper, nothing to read, no outside time. Just you just stay in your room.
And you still don't know anything that what's actually going on. Like you haven't really been contacted by anybody yet, or
not really. I mean, my embassy came to see me after about 3 months of me being there. But they weren't able to give me much information just because they haven't really dealt with it before. They didn't really know what the system was meant to be like. And then also COVID started to happen, and it made it difficult for them to then come and visit me and give me more information when they had it.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing. Like, I remember we talked about this before, but COVID, they didn't really tell you much what was actually going on, right?
Yeah, what did they
No,
say?
not really. No. I remember when they started to go around the prison, they were spraying the place and everyone started wearing masks. And I asked one of the police officers, I was just like, why is everyone wearing the mask? Why are they spraying? And he just started laughing and just pointing towards the room where there was a lot of Chinese prisoners. He just went, China, very sick. China, very sick. We were just like, well, right, okay. We just thought somebody had an infectious like disease or something in one of the Chinese inmates. But, no idea.
When did you actually know what COVID was?
Well, I managed to get a few newspapers like from the guys on death row, and it kind of starting to, you know, my Vietnamese was okay. Reading Vietnamese, I wasn't great.
Yeah.
But I could kind of like get the gist of things, so I started to read these Vietnamese newspapers, and they had like the death counts and so on. I was like, oh shit, something really is going on. Like, yeah. So that's when I first kind of knew about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the embassy were able to get a visit with me and a phone call. So they were able to explain more to me about COVID and why people can come and visit me. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, so another thing I guess we didn't really talk about too much is your mother was coming to visit you.
Yeah.
Arriving the day after you got arrested.
The day after, yeah.
That was obviously a terrible thing to have to deal with. But they wouldn't even let her see you or nothing like that as well.
No, I mean, no, they wouldn't let my mother see me. They wouldn't let anybody see me. I was quite surprised, but my dad was able to come across, and somehow my embassy managed to get him into the prison to see me. And this is unheard of. All the other inmates in there said, until you go to court, you can't see anyone apart from your embassy and your lawyers. So when I get called out of my cell, they say, oh, embassy. I went to go and see the embassy, and my dad was sat there. It was a shock. It was amazing. I was just like, what the fuck? It's my dad. Yeah. Which is really a really nice surprise. Yeah.
And I remember I met your father because he came by the house as well to pick up some of your stuff. And stuff like that. And I also met your mother the day she got there, which was just a terrible time to meet somebody because she was just distraught.
Yeah.
And and Chris, our friend, having to go and do that at the airport.
Oh man, that's a really horrible thing to do.
I'll do it. I'm like, all right, cool. Okay, fine. You want to do that? Go ahead, because I have to come and wait there to pick her up and see like, it's not here, and have to explain the whole thing. And
Oh man, it must have been horrible. Horrible for Chris to have to do that, and obviously it was really horrible for my mother because I hadn't seen her in years.
No, of
And
course,
you
yeah,
know,
I know.
she came out to see me and I'd been arrested. I still feel really guilty about that. I did at the time, and I was like,
Well, yeah,
yeah, still
obviously,
is in my mind about how horrible that must have been for her. You know,
yeah. You know
yeah,
what you do? That's things happen. You know, you make
yeah,
mistakes, and it affects more than just you, right? But what
yeah,
can
yeah.
you do? At the end of the day, you know, can laugh about it now, maybe. Ha ha
Well,
ha.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. She does. You know, now she sees the funny side of it. She does take the piss out of me for it now.
Yeah, yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I just kind of wanted to get into that. So, yeah. So again, you're just kind of waiting to hear what's going on. The embassy's seeing you. What's next?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
So it took me after about 9 months of waiting, I finally went to court. So I got my court date a few months before I went to court, and so I knew the date that I was going. So that morning, you know, I had to leave quite early. I think was it in the morning? Sorry, it was in the afternoon. My court date was. So couldn't sleep the night before. Obviously, really nervous. I just couldn't sleep at all. Next day, bags under my eyes, really tired, really nervous. Also, quite excited to actually get out of my cell, out of the prison, to go outside, even though I'll be in a prison van. It's like weirdly exciting just to be able to go somewhere different. And yeah, so I'm in this prison truck. And there's like little tiny windows like that. I'm looking outside, you know, I can see I can smell like food, and I was just like, yes, this is amazing, great,
Yeah.
going on a little day trip, you know. It's we get to court, and Mac, the drug dealer who got arrested with me, he's there.
Yeah.
So they sit us down next to each other in our handcuffs in this big courtroom.
Yeah, because again,
We're sat there with
this was almost like a sting operation. When you got busted, he got busted, right?
yeah. So he comes in a different truck, but we're both sat there in court together. We're sat there, you know, just having a bit of a crack on. We're good friends, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
To see him, we hadn't seen him in months, so it's just like we just sat there. And then this guy walks in with big gold chains around his neck, you know, cigarette hanging out of his mouth. He just walks in. He walks up and he introduces himself to Mac, and this guy's the judge.
Yeah.
He looks super mafia, man. Like, you know, just gold rings, big gold chains. You know, he's smoking Basso cigarettes, and he's just like, yeah. And you know, he offers us a cigarette, and we're sat in there in the courtroom, you know, just sat there smoking away. He tells the police to take the handcuffs off, and it turns out he introduced himself to Mac. He was like an old friend of the family. He was saying to Mac, "Oh, I remember you when you were just a young boy, and what you doing here? And, you know, okay, don't you worry, I'll see what I can do. You know, have a cigarette, relax, don't worry." Basically, how it went, and he just, you know, just like swaggers up to the judge's pulpit, I suppose it would be, puts on his robes just over the top, and he just looks so funny there with his judge robes on and just bling and smoking a cigarette there in court. Yeah, it was strange, man. So my case gets argued. I've got two lawyers, and one of the arguments is that the weed that I was caught with shouldn't be used against me because in my country it's legal to smoke weed. And the judge was like, okay, yeah, okay. Utter bullshit. It's not legal to smoke weed in my country, you know. But the lawyer's just talking nonsense to them, and the judge is going, "All right, okay, yeah, okay." Yeah. So after a bit of talking, and I have to stand up sometimes and just agree to whatever nonsense they're talking about, and just be like, yeah. They take a break, and the judge and I don't know, two other people in judge robes next to him. They go away into the back and discuss, and then they come back in and they give me my sentence. So comes in and I stand up and he says, I'll giving you a 2-year sentence. I was over the moon. I thought I was going to get 10 years. So I got a 2-year sentence.
Yeah, you're being told before that you're gonna get 10 years or 15 or 7.
2 years. I've got myself mentally prepared for a 10-year sentence. And I get a 2-year sentence. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, that is so easy, not a problem. You know.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I'm already halfway through by the time I went to court. I was like, yeah, great. Happy days.
Well, exactly, right? You get, whatever time you've already served as well, right?
Yeah. So Mac, the Vietnamese guy, he got an 18-year sentence.
Yeah.
He got caught with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. But he was also told that he would get minimum he would get was 20 years. He would not be able to get it lower than 20 years. So it was still kind of a good result for him. Well, he knew it was going to be high. He knew there's nothing he could do about it. But so after all that was done, Mac's wife was there. We sit there and she brings in chocolate cake and we have like a little meal. We have some chocolate cake, we have some fruit. She pays off the police so we can sit in the courtroom and just for like 10, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And just have some nice food and just chat and yeah. And then after that, the police took us back to the prison where I had to wait another few months to go to the main prison. That was
Yeah, so and then so you've been sentenced to all that. I have another question, just because this is a question that's probably on a lot of people's minds. They're watching this. When it comes to the stigma of being in prison, was there any kind of rape or homosexuality or anything?
No, there was some homosexuality going on. In the main prison where I moved to, I'd heard a lot of stories about other people that had been in there, but there was one guy who was in there. He was in there for being a pedophile.
Okay.
And he was paying the younger Laotian prisoners, because they're super poor, he was paying them, or at least promising to pay them quite a lot so he could just do whatever. I heard lots of different stories about what they got up to, but the main story was that he would do that and he wouldn't pay them. Anyway, I just kept my distance from him. I thought he was a scumbag. He's a pedophile. I don't want to have anything.
Do you know where was he from? He was a foreigner, I guess.
Romania. Was he Romania? Yeah, Romania.
But anyways,
yeah, definitely.
So again, there was no people trying to rape you or rape people. There was maybe a little pedophilia going on.
I was really worried when I first went to prison because I've heard all of these stories. I've heard, shit, there's going to be violence, there's going to be people stabbing each other, there's going to be people trying to fuck each other. And I never found any of that in Vietnamese prison. I'm not saying it doesn't happen anywhere else, but very rarely was there any violence. I mean, everyone in the main prison that I went to, everyone had knives. They were using it for chopping things, trying to cook a little bit, and everyone had knives. No one was stabbing each other. There were no drugs about. Like prison knives, like homemade prison knives, like shanks, but not for shanking each other. It was like, for cutting up vegetables, So the fact that so many people can have knives in a prison and no one's getting stabbed is just to show what the mindset that people are in there. You can get in so much trouble for any act of violence, or if you just can get in so much trouble and get so many more years put onto your sentence so easily. That no one even thinks about it. It's like, nah, fuck that. Get your head down, do
your time.
Get the time done and get out of there. That's what everyone's thinking.
All right, brother, we're gonna take a break. This will be the first part of the episode. This is 3 the Hard Way, guys. The second part will probably be released at the same time, so go ahead and watch the second part, but we'll take a break. Here's some original music for you guys. Thank you so much, Akin, and we'll be back in a little bit.
No problem, Paul. Good to speak to you, man. Okay, peace.
All right, peace.
No doubt, it's 3 the Hard Way.